7th Conference on Future Energy, and our next speaker is the Executive Director of the Institute. And she is a strong advocate of holistic health, including electromagnetic medicine, and responsible for the health programs at Integrity Research Institute. Her experience in the field of medicine and health includes management of cardiology wellness centers at the Mount Sinai and Cedars Medical Center, and also a partial hospitalization program in Miami, Florida for nearly 20 years. She also worked for the Group Health Incorporated, who from 1976 to 81 was awarded the management of Medicare Part B system for the state of Florida. She also received her doctorate degree in naturopathy from Trinity College of Natural Health, and she's certified through the College of Natural Health Professionals. Speaking on the topic of the importance of nanosecond pulsed electric and electromagnetic fields, please welcome Dr. Jacqueline Panting.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Welcome everybody here today. I'm going to do an overview on the nanosecond pulsed electromagnetic and electric fields. We've had a lot of PEMF talks already, so I'm going to try to stay away from everything that's already been spoken about today. So we will move on here. Just as a way for an introduction, we know everything is energy. Every organ in our body projects its own energy field, or electromagnetic field as we could call it. And nothing happens in our bodies without an electromagnetic field exchange. Okay, the day you don't have an electromagnetic field exchange in your body, you are dead. All right? So many of us throughout the years, scientists, healers, we have always wondered, can we manipulate these energy fields? And if we can manipulate them, can we use them to heal? Can we use them to get optimum levels of health if there is no disease in the body? Can we use them to rejuvenate cells, life? Or even, is this the famous fountain of youth that's always been eluding us? So all these questions many of us in the health field always asked. And then as time went by, that's how electrotherapy was born. And if any of you are history buffs, I am, we can go back as far as the year 1767, and the hospital in Middlesex, London, started to use electrotherapy. They used it for epilepsy, and they used it for tuberculosis. As many as you know, TB was a big problem back in those years because there's no antibiotics. They used to call it consumption, and people would die all the time from it. So these doctors in Middlesex, in this hospital, what happened here? Sorry about that. They came up with this little apparatus here that was used. That's a real picture. You can find a lot of these old-fashioned electrotherapy machines at this website, sciencemuseum.org.uk, because it originated in England, electrotherapy. And then it became increasingly popular all throughout Europe, Germany, all those countries there, and in the United States. And in the 18th and 19th centuries, they were just about everywhere. There were so many types and kinds of electrotherapy devices, even more than what you see today. It was just incredible how popular it became. And even there was colleges of electrotherapy that were opened all over to teach physicians on how to use these machines. So it was a very dignified, well-accepted form of modality for healing up till, the 1800s. If any of you really want to know more about the history of electrotherapy and the devices, I recommend these two books. This first one by Dean Curry, you can get it on Amazon, is very, very comprehensive. It has all the instruments, it has who made them, how they were made, what they did, has pictures, diagrams, circuits, and ours over here has also some history and also the current electrotherapy devices that you could find today. Now, what happens? The 20th century comes around, and all of a sudden, this has started to be branded as quack medicine. And this was mainly due to the Flexner report. It's this little booklet over here that you could see. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Flexner report. Show of hands. Okay, so the majority do not know. The Flexner report was written by Abraham Flexner. He was a science management graduate from Johns Hopkins University. And he was tasked by the Rockefeller Foundation and the Carnegie Foundation to create a standard for medical schools. Because at the beginning of the 20th century, there were all kinds of medical schools. There was homeopathy schools, there was naturopathy schools, there were electrotherapy schools, besides the medical schools. And as all of you know, Rockefeller Foundation were the ones that invested in pharmaceuticals at the time. And they said to him, we have way too much competition for our products. So we want you to go out there, study all the different colleges that are out there doing healing, electrotherapy, phototherapy, homeopathy, and see, are they up to the par to a medical school? And indeed, he went around all over the United States and Canada. And he came back and said that none of the electrotherapy colleges were up to par. None of the naturopathic colleges were up to par. Of the homeopathy, he actually found 4 that he said would okay to keep them open. So he gave everything else he called was quack. Everything else, anything with electrotherapy, phototherapy, he said it's just not scientific. They have nothing to base their findings on that are scientific. And they, even though they had tons of data to show, oh, we've healed this person or we've gotten this person better, he says, it doesn't matter what you show me, it matters only what you can prove. You know, because he had a legalistic mind. It's just like in law. It doesn't matter what you think, it's only what you can prove legally that gets across. So what happens? All the colleges on electrotherapy get closed. And then there's no more anywhere where doctors could go to learn how to use these devices. So that's how they start to decline in popularity. And only people like us in the grassroots continued using them. But they were no longer used at the hospital level or at the clinical level. The interesting thing that most of all these devices did use pulse electromagnetic fields or pulse electric fields. So then our next question would be, what are pulse electromagnetic fields? We all call them PEMFs today for short. Well, their frequency, they're frequency-based electromagnetic fields that can do the following. They can reduce pain. They can reduce inflammation. We know how important it is to reduce inflammation because unless you get rid of inflammation, you're not going to start healing. That's the first thing you have to take care of. They improve energy, circulation, blood and tissue oxygenation, uptake of nutrients, cellular detoxification. They increase the ability to regenerate cells in the body. They can balance the immune system. And the most important fact that I think that pulse electromagnetic fields have is that the body does not acclimate or get used to the healthy energy signals from these therapeutic devices, even if they're used for a long time. And that's because of their pulsed. Next slide. So, is PEMF quack medicine? Well, there's plenty of scientific scrutiny on them now, and there's over 3,000 articles just in the National Library of Medicine, okay? So tons of research has been done, and tons of research have proven that they do work. Okay, the largest study that NASA ever did up to the year 2000 was on PEMFs because they want to use it for their space exploration program. As we all know, in space, there's no gravity, right? And what happens? Weightlessness.
Your bones and joints and muscles degenerate.
Thank you, Russell. So they need to come up with something to give those astronauts so they don't come back in wheelchairs, right? So they have lots of studies they've done on PEMFs because it's actually something they can use up in space. Now, Department of Defense, they use them all the time in the field. They use them in Iraq, they're using them in Afghanistan as 911 emergency devices because they work. The FDA has approved the use of PEMFs for all those fractures, all those bones that did not heal after they were even put together in casts. So and that was approved back in 1979. And the World Health Organization, WHO, has reviewed articles worldwide and found no adverse side effects. Can we say that about drugs? Okay? So there's plenty of scientific scrutiny now. Can we still call it, like Flexner did, quack medicine? I don't think so, not with all this scientific scrutiny. So then their next step is, what are nanosecond PEMFs and PEFs fields? Okay? They're very high amplitude, short duration of nanosecond, okay? Electromagnetic or electric pulse versus a smooth changing sine wave, just like we have here. See how smoothly that is changing up and down? Where here, you have a fast pulse up and fast down, fast rising, fast down. We have another sample we can show you. Same way there too. Fast rising, fast down, fast rising and down, as opposed to this. Okay, so why am I making such a big deal about the nanosecond rising? Why is it so important? Well, to make it simply, all doctors will tell you, yeah, all cells have an on-off switch. Every single cell in your body. And studies now show that the nanosecond rising is the best for flipping the cell switch on and off so that the membrane's potential, the intracellular effects, calcium messaging, this is really important. We know how calcium is the one that creates all kinds of effects in the body once it gets in the cell. You need that. It has a C8, it's a 2+ calcium, and when the first protein gets into the cell, it lets calcium in, and calcium tells them what to do, all these other things. So all those can be manipulated with a flipping that cell switch on or off. Importantly, for whatever, whether you want to turn it on or off. It depends what you want to do. And most importantly, the intense, repeated exposures cause controlled cell death, apoptosis in cancers. Okay? So, next question begging here is, of course, for some of you may want to know, okay, what is apoptosis? It's cell death. And what's the difference with necrosis? They're both cell death. But there's a big difference. When you have apoptosis and the cell dies, there's no inflammation. Your body takes care of it. The phagocytes come in and eat it up, and there's no residual garbage, let's put it that way. But in necrosis, which is always triggered by either disease or external factors, injury, trauma, there's always inflammation left. And the cell doesn't get eaten up or disposed of, it just lingers there. And it causes all kinds of inflammation. That's the difference. So if you're going to use these fields, you want to make sure if they're causing cell death, they're causing apoptosis and not necrosis. Yes?
Why does it cause cell death in cancer cells and not in other cells?
Because again, like I said, we're using that switch to either turn on or off. Okay? So, and there is a little mechanism for it, but in cancer issue, and I'll show you the next slide. I think that will answer a little more. Let me move on to the next slide. Oh, it's after this one. But what you, in cancer, you want to kill the cells, right? Because they're not good cells for you to have in your body. But if there's nothing wrong with your body, you want to build up the cell, the transmembrane potential, okay? So now here are tons, again, thousands of articles on the effectiveness of nanosecond PEMFs. And I just caught a few, just to give you a sample of all the things you can do with these fields. Look at this one. Diverse effects of nanosecond pulse electric fields on cells and tissues. So here we are, you can use them both at the molecular level and at the tissue macro level. Also, gene electrotransfer is enhanced by nanosecond pulse electric fields. Gene therapies using all the PEMF fields and the PEP fields to do electrotransfers. You can regulate intracellular calcium with nanosecond pulse fields. And in cases with cancer, you have apoptosis targeted stimulus with these fields. In this case, it was done on squamous cell carcinoma, which is a skin cancer. And here are all the references for all those of you who would like to copy them. They're also on our website to show you. So I just wanted, visuals always say 1,000 words. Here we have in this, this is a neuroblastoma that was hit with PEMFs, nanosecond PEMFs. Look how far in the cell this electricity penetrated. That's how effective it is. They use for you who are a little more they use calcium dye so that they were able to put it in the photo. And that's in 0 seconds to 7.9 milliseconds, they were able to get total penetration into the cell. Okay? Again, there's the reference for those of you who want to check the journal article on it. So the next question is, okay, so what's the difference between the nanosecond PEMFs and the nanosecond PEMFs? Well, it's just that when they're electric, they're contacting. For that, you need either use an electrode, you use wires, and you want to contact it on the skin to able to get it in. With electromagnetic, they're non-contacting, so I could just put the device in front of you and you're going to get treated. I don't have to connect that to your body, in the case like the EM pulsers. Now, I just want to say here, if you're going to treat diseases like cancer or diabetes, it is recommended that you use both the electric contacting and the non-contacting to get a better outcome. You need both. All right, so is it quack medicine? But what are scientists saying now? Look at this article just this year, March 2015, from Scientific American. Electric cures. Bioelectronic medicine can create an off switch for arthritis, diabetes, or even cancer. Now, are they calling it electrotherapy? No. What are they calling it? They're calling it bioelectronic medicine, because they don't want to be associated with something that already has been considered quack. But it's the same thing. It's electrotherapy. This is Dr. Kevin Tracy, he's a professor of molecular medicine and neurosurgery at Long Island School of Medicine. And look at the, by the way, if you want this article, it's on our website. You can download it for free. Go to our bioenergy page. We paid money so that you can download it for free. We paid for the rights to reproduce it. So you're welcome to download as many times as you want for free. But I just picked out this quote from the article because I said, okay, this is the main reason why it's such a problem for the pharma people. The question might arise about whether the field of bioelectronic medicine, code PEMF, okay, or PEMF, represents a threat to the drug industry. I believe that bioelectronic devices will replace some drugs and supplements. So we're coming back full circle, folks, okay? They realize it works, and they can do amazing things with it that they can't do with drugs. So they're joining the bandwagon. Okay, so are the pharmaceuticals worried? Guess what? They're now doing it. Except, of course, they don't call it electrotherapy. What are they calling it? They call it electroceuticals because we're pharmaceuticals, so we're going to call it electroceuticals. Yeah, that's right. And I took this right from their website. This is just a picture, a capture from their website. They describe themselves as a US-based electroceutical healthcare company, which is developing a range of non-invasive vagus nerve stimulation, NVNSF, NanoSecond, patient-administered therapies for treatment of multiple conditions in neurology, psychiatry, gastroenterology, and other fields. Just from GlaxoSmithKline, they got $50 million, just from one company. Electrocure, you can go there. Why are they targeting the vagus nerve? It's a natural one. It's the biggest nerve in your body. It goes from the brain stem all the way down to your abdomen. What does the vagus nerve control? So it controls your heart, controls your lungs, controls your digestive system, and most of your glands. So that's like the natural one to go after because you can do all kinds of effects by stimulating it, or like you said, it will turn some things off and some things it will turn on according to what you want to do. So that's why they're saying here neurology, they're targeting Parkinson's, they're targeting dementia. Psychiatry, it's already proven, we all know, how long have they been using electroshock therapy for psychiatric treatment? It never went away, that stayed. And they're using it also for diabetes because that's why they're targeting. If you go to their website, they have a lot of good stuff there. You'll enjoy it. I recommend if you want to see more. Exactly. So that's why they're calling electroceuticals, and of course, whatever they're going to offer is going to be totally expensive, out of range, only available in the hospital setting or clinical setting. It's not something that you and I can get a hold of without spending a lot of money. So we can stick to our little devices that do the same thing. Here we have some, and I only picked the two that I know about, but I can assure you everything that you see out there, everything works. Just pick the one that you like, that works for you, and that you feel comfortable with. But here we have the e-impulsor, which is a PEMF device. Oh, goodness. Sorry about that. And also the osteopad, which is also for home use, and it's just a little larger version. I'll go more in detail of those later. Also, there's the larger ones. I know you guys like your big toys to have in your home. You still can have it at home. High voltage Tesla coil, gigahertz range, 250,000 volts. output. It's broad spectrum with discrete frequency, and this one happens to also have a Lakosky antenna on it. So there are tons of different devices out there that, yes, it's included in there. So just a little more now on the EM pulsar. This device, does anybody here remember Dr. Glenn Gordon when he used to present here at Tesla Tech? Okay. So this is his original device. We updated it to make it a one-piece device. You see it here. Because you had the device and then you had to connect it. Oh, there. Can you show that, please, Phil? There's the old-fashioned, where you had to connect the battery compartment to it. Where now we have it all one piece in there. Plus, we give you, the other complaint people had about that is that you would use a 9-volt battery overnight. So what we did, we added the battery compartment in the device. We give you a 9-volt rechargeable battery with the battery charger. And you can also have an AC adapter where you could plug it into the wall. So whichever way you want to use it, it's available. It is a NanoSecond PEMF device that activates the heat shock protein 70 within 10 minutes. Now, for those of you who don't know or don't know about HPS 70, why is it so important? It's the 911 cell repair, okay? It's the first thing that your cell needs to start repairing after an injury, after stress, or after trauma. It's a part of a family of proteins called heat shock or stress, and they increase dramatically right after the cell falls under any adverse condition. The most important part about HPS 70 is that it guarantees the correct healing of the cell. Why? Because it regulates gene expression. It tells the genes, have this cell go on, we need a cell for this, we need a cell for this is what we need. So because it regulates that, that's why it makes sure that you get a correct healing of that one cell. This is a nice diagram that I took from this book, just so that you see what it looks like. Here they are, the HPS 70, coming out of the ribosomes. Ribosomes are organelles in all your cells that are responsible for producing proteins. Whatever protein your cell needs, it comes from the ribosomes. So the ribosome here, that's why you see the HPS 70 coming out of the ribosome and doing its job, whatever it has to do. And it's unless you're a chemist, it's a very long stream thing to show you how it works and what it does and what it regulates. But suffice to say, if you need that to have your